How we doing, everybody? UFC Thoughts here, and today I'm recording this July 19th, day before UFC Vegas 94. Looking at that card, seeing that the Iron Turtle pulled out, it made me depressed. So I looked forward, and I saw October 5th, is UFC 307. And I decided, for you guys, I would do a card builder. I did 10 fights, 5 prelim fights that I would like to see on there, and the main card that I think would do very well. I have the event sponsored by Smile 2 and Howlerhead once again. 5 prelims. Alright. Coming at you straight. Listen, the first two are... Remember, this is at Elevation. The first fight I have on there, Chris Barnett, Austin Lane. Now hear me out. I already know you're clicking off because you see fat heavyweights. But listen, Chris Barnett hasn't fought in fucking ages, and I think him at Elevation would be so funny after just 2 minutes of sloppy wheel kicks thrown at Austin Lane. Also, the height advantage for Austin Lane would be comical in this fight. I think Chris Barnett might be able to chin him with one of his signature meatball kicks. But also, I think this could be entertaining as long as Austin Lane is dumb and tries to keep it standing. He might even be able to... Who fucking knows, man? Chris Barnett is a staple in the UFC, and I think people should respect him more. But, yes, that's my first prelim I got to you guys. Chris Barnett, fatty man, versus Austin Lane. The second one is a little bit more serious. I got Michael Johnson versus Trevor Peek. This is a banger fight. This is going to be fucking amazing, especially at Elevation. I think it either turns into one of the grossest lightweight unranked slugfests of all time where they're just like winging arm punches at each other, or one of these guys, I mean, let's be honest, Trevor Peek's not getting KO'd. Michael Johnson gets fucking folded and looks like a fucking stink bug on the back when they're dying. But I think the stand-up would be very interesting because Michael Johnson is obviously going to have the technique advantage over Trevor Peek, but Trevor Peek always... I mean, who's knocking out? Look at that fucking chin on him, dude. Holy shit. But Trevor Peek does have a lot of power, and we do know that Michael Johnson, if touched by anybody who even hits remotely hard, tends to fucking perish. So I think that fight would be very entertaining. I think that's calls for a first or second round KO either way. Maybe Michael Johnson's able to damage Trevor Peek enough to where he's able to get a finish, or Trevor Peek just fucking lunchbox swings at him and kills him. So who knows? We move to another prelim. These next two are kind of just prospects I would love to see get fight announcements. I have Chris Duncan versus Mauricio Rufy. Mauricio Rufy is a part of that Fighting Nerds camp, of course, with Joan Silva, who was a guy that I wanted to put on this card, but it did just get revealed that he broke both of his hands against Drew Dober, so he's probably going to be out for a considerable amount of time. I hope not too long, because, let's be honest, everybody here loves Joan Silva now. But to this matchup, Chris Duncan versus Mauricio Rufy, this is a banger of a fight, I think. Chris Duncan obviously hasn't fought in a minute. I think the last time he fought was Manuel Torres at Mexico City when he lost. But prior to that, Chris Duncan, I think, had a 2-fight win streak of sorts. He was also supposed to fight Terrence McKinney. He was supposed to fight at Denver, but pulled out due to staff. So it's not like he's injured or anything. He just had a medical issue. He should be ready for October. And Mauricio Rufy is a guy I think the UFC is going to try and push extremely hard, even though I suggest against it. I suggest they put him against a lower unranked talent, such as Chris Duncan, who is kind of new to the UFC, who you can also build up just in case Mauricio Rufy loses. But I think this stylistic matchup is super entertaining, especially with the fact that Mauricio Rufy is so entertaining to watch. He's so dynamic. Everybody is comparing him to a younger Conor McGregor. I don't think anyone's going to ever resemble a younger Conor McGregor. But he does kind of have the elongated karate stance, long but very rangy, straight punches. And he also does throw spinning wheel kicks and flying knees. So Mauricio Rufy is very entertaining. Chris Duncan, we've seen, has heavy power in his hands. But I think this matchup is just my kind of way of trying to set Mauricio Rufy up with some nice win. But I think that this fight is pretty cool. We move. My fourth, and I already forgot what word I was going to use, but I'm throwing Adrian Yanez, Peyton Talbot. I think a lot of people are going to hope that they hold Peyton Talbot off until the Conor McGregor card. I say fuck that. I don't want to see Adrian Yanez and Peyton Talbot fight in a Apex or a unwarranted location, but I want to see this shit on a pay-per-view, and I think Elevation would be a very interesting case for Peyton Talbot, especially against a guy like Adrian Yanez, whose boxing is also very nice. So I think this is the fight to make for Peyton Talbot at bantamweight. He called for it when he beat Giannis Gumori at 303. I think this is the fight to make. It would be July, August, September. It would be a 4-month turnaround for Peyton Talbot in a fight where he didn't take any damage. Giannis didn't land anything besides the low kick that ended up getting him killed. But I think this is the fight to make. And also, Adrian Yanez didn't fight that long ago. He fought, what was it, May 18th, I think is what it was. So get him back in the field. So I think this is the fight you have to make for both of these guys. At their points in their careers, Adrian Yanez, I think we know that he's not top 10 level worthy anymore, especially after getting fraud checked by Rob and Jonathan Martinez. But he's still a very entertaining watch, and Peyton Talbot is that guy that they're going to try and push right now. I think this is the type of guy you put him up against. We move. The featured prelim I have for you guys. All right, listen. I got another Fighting Nerds guy. I'm putting Jack Hermansson versus Caio Borralho. Caio is honestly is ranked higher than I thought he was. Caio's 12. I don't think Caio's going to fight down. I don't think he should fight down. But I don't think he should fight too high up either. I don't want to see Caio against Paulo Costa just yet, because I think Paulo Costa shouldn't even get the fucking attention to fight only number 12. He should be fighting way fucking down. I think Jack Hermansson, his performance against Joe Pyfer was very, very cool to watch, how crafty it was after round 2. And I think Caio Borralho is a guy that the UFC is trying to push. He is very young. He's got the younger aesthetic. He's got tattoos everywhere. He's got the neck tattoo, Free Spirit. He's got a bunch of weird stuff going on with him. And he also had a stellar performance against Paul Craig. What you should do when you fight Paul Craig, especially when you're such a high-touted prospect, undefeated in the UFC. I think Caio, what is he, 13-1 now is his official record? 16-1, pardon me. And 6-0 in the UFC, I believe, or 7-0, whatever it is. It is 6-0, I remember, because I did the math on all the Fighting Nerds guys. This is the guy that is the highest of those dudes. And putting him against Jack Hermansson would breach him in the top 10. I don't think because when you look at the top 10 of the division, there's not a lot of leeway there. Roman Dolidze is probably going to stay up at 205. Jack Hermansson has nothing going on. Paulo Costa, no. Brendan Allen's got a fight booked. Marvin Vettori is maybe still injured. Jared Cannonier, no. Nasruddin Mavov booked. Robert Whittaker, fuck no. Israel Adesanya, no. Sean Strickland, no. Drake is the further you go up, everyone's either booked or too high up for him. I think Jack Hermansson is the perfect fight for him, especially since Jack Hermansson did just fight an unranked Joe Pyfer. I think that he wouldn't mind getting a ranked opponent, that if he does beat Caio Borralho, that is yet another youngster that he has beat. To add to his resume to maybe get a higher ranked competition. So I think that is a great featured prelim. We move to the main card, and I've made this video on the perfect day because I have the perfect fight to open up the main card, and that is Movsar Evloev, Aljamain Sterling. It literally just got announced. Not fully announced, but it's announced. Aljo signed a contract on his Instagram, and you can literally see that Movsar is the opponent on the paper, and he said 307, here I come. So this is going to be the fight that I am almost certain opens up the pay-per-view. If, with my card building skills, I am sure that this is the fight that they're going to have to open it up. Great matchup. Stylistically, I love this fight in every aspect. Movsar Evloev, as you guys know, I have said that he is overrated. And some people don't understand what I mean by overrated. I don't mean overranked. I mean that I don't think they're as good as everyone says they are. I don't think Movsar Evloev is that great. like, like some people don't understand the difference between overranked and overrated. It's different. But I think Movsar Evloev Aljamain Sterling is an amazing fight, ground-wise. I think on the stand-up it's going to be very interesting because we've seen from a lot of people, especially recently, that Aljo is a very interesting guy to fight on the feet because he is so awkward. The only person who's had an immense amount of success in recent memory, besides Piotr Jan in the first fight, was Sean O'Malley, of course, because he knocked him out. But is Movsar Evloev as talented as Sean O'Malley? No. The ground game is what I think is going to be the most interesting aspect about this, because Movsar Evloev is very good when it comes to chain wrestling, but we've seen him in moments against BJJ maestros, such as, of course, Diego Lopez, get in bad spots. So I think that is the fight to make for featherweight. We move up the card, and this is a fight that has been rumored for some time now, but I have Wonderboy Thompson versus Joaquin Buckley. I think this fight rankings-wise makes sense. I think stylistically it makes a shit ton of sense. This could turn into just Joaquin Buckley trying to grapple with Wonderboy Thompson, but I think Buckley's ego might get to him a little bit, and he tries to stand up with Wonderboy for a long period of time. And we've seen Buckley, he has heavy fists, man. We all know this, and we haven't seen Wonderboy get like KO'd or anything as of recent, but he has been dropped before by Woodley, and of course he got KO'd by Anthony Pettis. And Buckley, of course, his stylistic like matchups on the feet, he is very awkward and explosive and very weird when it comes to certain striking techniques, and I think he does have some position to be able to land some bullshit on Wonderboy Thompson. So I think this fight just overall makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of fans would love to see this fight with Wonderboy and Buckley. I think a lot of people are thinking this is the fight that is going to be made, especially after Buckley did such a company favor by turning around so fast and fighting Sultan in the co-main event of St. Louis. And, you know, he did beat Vicente Luque, even though a lot of people realize that that fight was weird, but it doesn't, hey, it is what it is. Wonderboy has lost a couple in a row. I think the last fight he won was Kevin Holland in 2022, which is, you know, it's a long fucking time ago. So I think that he's probably going to fight down once more, fight Joaquin Buckley, get it done and over with. We move to the featured fight. Now this fight is probably the least likely to happen, but I'm looking at everything. I'm seeing Brian Ortega at featherweight. He said he's moving back up. He's not moving back up, but he's moving up to lightweight. He had a terrible weight cut for 303. I don't think he's going to go back down to 145. I think that him, in his mind, he is already mentally at 155. I think a fight that a lot of people would love to see is Charles Oliveira versus Brian Ortega. I think the grappling in this fight would be super entertaining because Brian Ortega is a big featherweight. Charles Oliveira, if you guys do not remember, used to be a featherweight. It would be two former featherweights going at it. Of course, Charles Oliveira is now a lightweight. He has been at lightweight for quite a few years now. But I think the stand-up is most likely going to lean to Charles because he just is kind of a marauder style. But Brian Ortega does have some slick boxing at moments, you know, especially after Max Holloway taught him how to block punches. But on the ground, this is going to be very interesting because Brian Ortega is, of course, regarded to have some of the best BJJ in the UFC. That's kind of like what he was known for coming up, is that, oh my God, this dude's fucking Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu's nuts. His ground game is sick. So seeing him against arguably one of the most decorated grapplers at lightweight in Charles Oliveira, who has lost to Arman Sarukian and is 1-2 in his last three. Of course, his one win coming against Beneil Dariush. I think Oliveira doesn't care who he fights as long as he's getting money. So he's getting money. I think that Brian Ortega, I think this is a great fight to have, especially at elevation. I think it'd be a way to build up and hype up this card even more than what a lot of people would say. So I think that this fight makes sense. I think it'd be very entertaining, and it doesn't involve Oliveira moving up or anything to fight a super big welterweight that I don't think makes any sense. I think Charles should stay at lightweight. I think that's where his wheelhouse is. I think that he just is a little small for welterweight. So we move. Co-main event and main event. These are kind of already known, so I'm just going to reveal both of them at the same time. Raquel Pennington, Juliana Pena, Ilia Topuria, Max Holloway. Ilia Topuria, Max Holloway I'll talk about in a second. Juliana Pena and Raquel Pennington, I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that I don't really care that much about this matchup, and I know to some people that are hardcore fans, like, you don't care about Raquel. No, I don't. For a matter of fact, I don't give a shit about women's bantamweights. I don't care about the division unless it involves Kayla Harrison, because she is such a monstrous threat, and I honestly wish that it would be Raquel Pennington versus Kayla Harrison, because I think that is a fight a lot of people would be very excited for, because Kayla Harrison absolutely demolished Holly Holm. And at this point in the UFC, let's keep it a buck. Who gives a single fuck about Juliana Pena? The last time she won a fight was UFC 269, which was in 2022, right? That was it. Am I doing that right? Is that 2022? Is that 2021? Dude, that's 2021. Holy shit. She hasn't fought in fuck it. The last time she fought was what, 278? 277? When she lost to Amanda? Dude, holy shit. Dude, Juliana Pena hasn't fought in fucking... Like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, who gives a shit? This fight's going to be laughably... Like I said before, it's going to be laughably bad 4 minutes in. I think both these ladies are going to gas out very quick. I don't care about this matchup. I don't even really care who wins this matchup. Juliana Pena, she's going to try and make it entertaining with trash talking, but I think on the feet it's going to be very sloppy, and on the ground I don't like Juliana Pena got submitted by Jermaine Durandamy, if I'm remembering that correctly, so I don't give a shit. But Ilia Topuria, Max Holloway is a fight that I love. Here's the problem with Salt Lake City. It is at elevation, of course. I've been saying it throughout the video a lot, which makes matchups a little more difficult to try and predict. I wish that Ilia Topuria, Max Holloway was on ground level, like in Vegas or in Madison Square Garden, but that's not the case. And I don't want the UFC to make a pay-per-view around Pennington Pena. I don't give a shit about that fight. Nobody else does, other than simps on Twitter. So you got to have a high-level fight on there. And Ilia Topuria, Max Holloway, not high-level fight, but a shock value entertaining fight, which is exactly what Ilia Topuria, Max Holloway is. BMF title on the line, UFC featherweight title on the line. And I think a lot of people are trying to count Ilia Topuria out of this fight for some reason. I know I know you've seen my past videos. I think Max Holloway is going to win, but I do not think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be like a demolition job. I think Topuria has the skills to beat Max Holloway. I think he does. But I think if this fight does take place at elevation, I think that just suits Max Holloway just a little bit more, because Ilia Topuria is going to be a little bit lower output and not throwing as much on his shots, which at ground level he would be doing. And I think Max Holloway just has the gas to go 25 not hard minutes, but very paceful minutes at elevation. And I don't think that suits Ilia Topuria that much. So that kind of does diminish this matchup a little bit in my eyesight, but I still think that Ilia Topuria does have the weaponry to compete at a very high level with Max Holloway. I mean, he fucking knocked out Volkanovski. He beat the piss out of Josh Emmett. And I know using Josh Emmett as an example is kind of dog shit because it is Max Holloway. But, he did go 25 pretty rough minutes with Josh Emmett and beat him 50-42 what is it? What was it, like a 10-7 scorecard or some shit? He's one of, 3 people to get one of those. So, yeah. I'm not counting Ilia Topuria out of this matchup. I love this matchup. I wish it wasn't at elevation, but I do believe that this fight is going to be very entertaining, even if it is lower output, because Ilia Topuria, whenever you watch an Ilia Topuria fight now, you kind of always have to be on the edge of your seats, even if it is against Max Holloway, because you're like, dude, anything can happen, man. Volkanovski fucking dropped his hand for 1 second, and he was out. for a long time. And I know he got knocked out 4-1. Who cares, man? It's fucking Volk. Holloway couldn't do that shit in fucking an hour and some minutes. An hour and fucking 15 minutes. He dropped him twice in their second fight, but then he got 50-45 in their third fight. So I do find this fight very entertaining. I think putting the BMF title on the line for it is also great, because it also enhances the matchup even fucking more. So, yeah, that's my 307 card builder. Let me know what you guys thought about it. It's way different than the 306 one, because 306 was mostly already confirmed. 307 only has one confirmed fight on it as of now, which is Movsar Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling. What do you think about my prelims? What do you think about my main card? What fights would you love to see at Elevation in Salt Lake City? What would you guys like to see on that card? Let me know in the comments below. If you like the video, give it a like. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.